Full screen hit slideshow on the right. Yep, there you go.
All right, and whenever you're ready.
I'm James Roddick, and this is my senior project presentation. My essential question was, how can I introduce my community to the sport of rock climbing while raising money to fund a rock wall for the physical education classes? I chose this topic because, especially towards the end of the summer, I had a real passion for climbing. And coming off of that, like climbing every single day of the week pretty much, I really just wanted to do something with that this year for my senior project. I've been thinking about it during the summer, stuff like that. I really like the community of rock climbing, and I thought that, bringing that into the school would be something that could be potentially really good for a project like this. Every time I was like in a Fit for Life class, I noticed that like we kind of have like some balls and stuff, general stuff like that, but we don't have any like equipment that we like use like a rock wall. That's what I'm sort of trying to get to there, and like there's no real organized like events that we do. It's just sort of like strap on your heart rate monitor, go play a game in the class, and that's not to knock Mr. Kendrick. That's just literally the format of the class. Yeah, I just really wanted to teach people how cool climbing was. My goals for this project were to, get people interested in the sport. Like I said, I think it's a good community to bring people to, very friendly. I wanted to add some more organized activity in the Fit for Life classes. Like I said, I noticed like a big lacking of that in that class. But this year actually, they changed the formula for it, so it was much more organized this year, ironically. I can't remember what we did in Fit for Life.
Floor hockey.
Right, yeah, we had like organized games that we did. We did floor hockey, and we did, stuff like actual organized games, which was a nice change of pace, but I still thought the wall would bring something really nice to that, like an actual, a ropes course and stuff like that. I thought that would be really important. So the plan for my project was to rent out a space. I had Central Rock Gym picked out pretty early on. I wanted to do that. I wanted to sort of like have an event where people could come try out climbing and like familiarize themselves with it, and then at the same time charge admission and be raising funds for the wall that people would be using. So I thought that was like a good like loop where like funding the wall was also getting people familiarized with it. And obviously the profits from the fundraising would go to the wall. So the research for my project, I looked into business collaboration. This was something from pretty much right from the get-go I was really nervous about, and for good reason. Collaborating with bigger businesses when you're just like a high school student is a pretty scary thing. And so I looked pretty heavily into like what ways to approach a business. I researched what kind of wall I would want, how much it would cost, what dimensions it would have to be. I settled on, I think, around 15 feet or something like that, because the gym ceilings, I think, are about 20 feet. And I couldn't get a quote for how much that would cost without actual like floor plans for the gym. But I found out that I could get a pre-made wall, which would cost a lot less than actually just building the wall ourselves. And I looked into gym rental pricing. This was like something that I thought was going to be a huge part of my project, because I would have to front the cost of the actual gym rental, which I was thinking would be about $250 at the time. Because I had found a blog that was saying like, it was some place that actually rented, like was a middleman for renting out spaces like this, and they were like going through parking is a big part of how much it costs to rent out a place. Like how much equipment there is. Like rock climbing gyms have a lot of equipment, like full free weights, everything like that. And so I was like, that's going to be really expensive. And event promotion was something that ironically I looked pretty heavily into. I like looked around the school, see a lot of posters, hear a lot of announcements, and I was like, I gotta do something to stand out from that. And I really wanted to utilize social media pretty well, and I got a decent amount of views on the story that I put out on my Snapchat, but that really wasn't as much as I had wanted it to be. I wanted to use like Facebook forums, but I just didn't. So this is where I talk about the approval I needed, and this is really, as you can see, where my project sort of started to go south. I needed approval from the school because I wanted to build a wall, but I never even got to that point because I needed approval from the gym to actually host my event there first. And they told me that I couldn't host my event there, which at that point, the project that I had planned was sort of dead in the water. And I needed to come up with something new. The approval that I would need for my new idea was basically just from the administration department to use the auditorium. And my new plan was to create a video to familiarize people with the sport of rock climbing, sort of connecting the roots of my old project to something that I could accomplish in a shorter amount of time. And I I wanted to just sort of make a decent video that was instructional and would like bring people in and introduce them to the community, as well as showing different techniques and stuff like that. The fundraising aspect of the project, again, to connect it to my essential question so that I could still raise money for a rock wall potentially, was to host a raffle alongside the video where I could still give people a chance to try out climbing by raffling off day passes. And I hoped that this would be sort of something that my video would get people excited, and then you come out and you see the raffle table and you're like, oh, I can try out climbing, and that would be like a big selling point of that. Something that, the real reason why I got denied access to that gym was because I waited until like not even a month out from when I wanted to use their space, and they were like, we need way more like advanced to plan something like this and be able to close down the gym for a whole day. We can't just, people come here like every day. And so this sort of led to like a big change in my mindset where I'm like, okay, this, like, the world doesn't revolve around me and my senior project, I gotta like come up with some, like, just take more responsibility for my own project and just sort of take it by the reins. And this led to me sort of starting to rush, right? And like, so my plan was like pretty last minute because of that change. Or not because of that change, but it was already going to be last minute. And then that led to the change in mindset where I had to, pull myself up by my bootstraps, so to speak. So I really just sort of like pretty much the last 2 days went into the school, and I was like, I need to use some kind of space so I can display my video. Mr. Bedard, please, can you get me to the administration office so I can schedule this? I know it's like the last possible day I could do this. And she was like, okay. Brought me down there. They were like, we have this time slot. I was like, awesome, anything. And so I ended up actually getting the space from 9:20 to 1:15. Here I'm going to talk about like the video that I showed. The creation, like concept creation, I talked a little bit about already, but I wanted to sort of show techniques for your first time going for anybody that could have won the passes from the raffle. Talked about warm up, stuff like that, stretching, different types of holds, obviously, like I said, different techniques in terms of like how to hold the rocks. The video filming just sort of was me and a former Millis graduate, Ben Herney, spitballing around the rock climbing gym, thinking of things that we could talk about in the video. And obviously I planned a little bit of it before, but again, last minute just sort of walked into the gym and I was like filming stuff. The video editing process was something I actually had a decent amount of experience with. I've been in digital media for Miss Manny's digital media class for a few years. And I made a really big podcast last year where it took me, I think, 7 hours to edit the whole thing. Worked on a lot of keyframing, stuff like that. That is actually something that I used here. And yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this stuff a lot, which is one of the reasons why I thought this was a good shift for my project. The product, it was sort of a bittersweet outcome. It was very last minute, so teachers didn't really have time to incorporate it into their day, so not a lot of people showed up. As you can see by lonely Jess there in the auditorium watching my video. But it also did come along with a relief of being able to have done something for a project, which is sort of sad to say, but you know, successes out of my project. People did end up watching my video. I had one class come down, which was, you know, I was hoping for a lot more, but I knew that that probably wasn't realistic with the time frame that I gave teachers. And I was, by the end of the day, I was happy that one class came down. I was like, sort of, that was my hope. I was happy that people participated in my raffle. We had pretty much everyone who entered won, which was kind of cool. And I completed my senior project. My failures, there's a pretty long list. I had really late, apathetic reconstruction of my project. Like, it was like the last 2 weeks that I came up with the video idea and the raffle idea. Thanks to Mr. Carter for that. That was actually a good deal, your idea. Obviously, lack of time management, you're going to see that from pretty much every single high school student, especially, well, not every high school student in terms of the senior project, but a decent amount of them. For event promotion, that was a real bummer for me because that was one of my research points that I could apply to my new project, and I sort of fumbled the ball on that. I didn't go into the Facebook forums at all. I only did Snapchat promotion, pretty much end of announcement. I lost money. The cost of the prizes for the raffle was less than the amount that I got for people participating in it, which is sort of sad, but I'm just going to donate whatever money I got from that anyway. I didn't take advantage of having a mentor literally at all. I ran into Mr. Kendrick once in the hallway, and that is the most I interacted with him, which, that didn't help me either. And I didn't build the wall. I hadn't really planned to. I just wanted to raise funds towards it, but it would have been nice to have something physical that represented my project in the end. Was my project successful? Did I answer my essential question? Kinda. I got eyes on the sport of rock climbing, introduced some people in my community to it, which is definitely part of it. And I did raise funds towards a wall. It was $70, but that's better than nothing. So I'd say, again, kind of successful. Wasn't quite what I hoped it would be. Special thanks to Mr. Carter again for pretty much helping me create my what ended up being my project in the last pretty much 2 weeks of school. Mr. Fallon for being the only person to bring, he brought his gym class in pretty much right at the last minute, and I got eyes on my video, which I was really excited about. Thanks to Ms. Bedard for helping me schedule the auditorium, and thanks to my mom for helping me pick up all the prizes and stuff like that. And thanks to Jess Conn for keeping me company during my raffle. Also thanks to Ben for helping me shoot my video, and thanks to everyone who bought raffle tickets. This is my works cited, and any questions?